Hello everyone, welcome back. Welcome freaking back. As you guys can see by the title and the thumbnail of this video, we're in a new month already. We are already in April, which is outrageous to me. So let's try that again. So let's do a March wrap up and an April TBR. So obviously we are going to be starting out with our March wrap up, the books that I read in March. I'm going to be starting off with the books that I started out with and ending with the last book that I read in March. Okay. The first book that I read in March was The List of Suspicious Things by Jenny Godfrey. This was a 5-star for me. This was so gripping, so exciting, so intriguing, just plot twist on plot twist on plot twist. This book follows our two main female characters. They are both like 12 years old, so they're really young, but they live in a town where a serial killer, a ripper, is currently going around and killing females, and so our two main girls are being told by their adults that they are moving away, and they don't want to do that because this is where they were raised, this is where they grew up. They don't want to leave this town, they don't want to leave this area, so they take it upon themselves to try to figure out who the serial killer is. So they have a list of suspicious things, a list of suspicious people, a list of suspicious places where the serial killer could be working from, who the serial killer could be, literally anything and everything that is suspicious to them, they put in a list. This book was fantastic. Like I said, it was so gripping, so exciting. I had so much fun reading this. Then the next book that I read was Rose in Chains by Julie Soto. I don't have the dust jacket on this at the moment, it is downstairs, but this book was also a 5-star. This book was so much fun. I don't know why I had been putting this off for so long, but this book was so good. It was truly such a twisty and turny situation. Trying to think of a way to put my thoughts. So yeah, this one basically follows two separate kingdoms, I guess you could say. Oh, this one's gonna be really hard to explain. I think what I'm gonna have to do is just read you the synopsis of this book. There's too much, it's so convoluted that I don't want to end up spoiling something. So it says, the war is over, the dark forces have won, and the hero who was supposed to save them is dead. Captured as her castle is overrun by the enemy, Bryony Rosewood knows that the world as she knows it is changed forever. The dark forces of Baumard have won, and her people, the Eversons, face imminent servitude, imprisonment, or death. Her brother, fated to be heir twice over and unite the warring kingdoms, is dead. Stripped of her mind magic and her freedom, Bryony and the other survivors are quickly auctioned off to the highest bidders in an auction, and as the heir apparent sister, she fetches the highest price. After a fierce bidding war, she's sold to none other than Tovin, a high-ranking Baumardson, and her long-time and ill-fated infatuation. Scion of a family known for their cruel control of heart magic, the Hearsts are ruthlessly ambitious, and Bryony knows they will use her however they can to further their own interests. Yet despite the horrors of her new world and the roles she must learn to play with it, all is not lost. Help and hope may yet arise in the most unlikely of places. This book was so good. It was so fun. I truly was at the edge of my seat the entire book. There was not one moment where I was like bored. One thing I did mention in the book, or in the video that I read this book in, there are a lot of trigger warnings in this, so be careful and definitely look those up before you go into this book. Then, let me change my battery. Then we read Judging a Book by Its Lover. This one was a literary criticism, so I couldn't really rate this, but I did end up rating it a 5-star because it was just so, I don't even know the word that I'm looking for. I felt involved, I felt included. I feel like everything that I read in this was something that can be used in my future. So I felt like I had to rate it purely for that. But this book really is our author just kind of going through and criticizing people for what they read, for what they let their children read, and how people who grow up reading those books usually end up turning out. It's just really like a fun criticism, something that's just obscure, something I didn't expect in this book. I knew it was going to be like a weird like field guide, but I thought there was going to be like some fiction in it. There is no fiction at all. This is purely literary criticism. But this book was 5 stars. This book was so fun. There were some things that I had dog-eared because just of the fantastic nature of everything that I read in this book. Yeah, I would highly recommend you try to find a book, or this book in general. Try to find something like this, because this was just a really nice palette cleanse, but also so much fun. Then the last book that I read in March was Never by Jessa Hastings. I rated this a 4 star. This book was so good, but I truly hated the way that it ended. I'm not going to get into that because it is literally in like 3 videos now, me talking about how I was irritated with this book. But this book follows Daphne Darling and Jameson Hook and Peter Pan. Yep, you heard me. This book is set in Neverland. It is a dark It's a dark retelling, so instead of Daphne being interested in Peter Pan like we were all expecting her to be, she ends up interested in Jameson Hook, which is Captain Hook's son. So the Darling, like, I don't know, the Darling story of the Darling girls going to Peter Pan is being a little skewed. It's changing a little bit because Daphne isn't going the way that she wanted to go, and she refuses to be told what to do, so she makes her own opinions. And we love Daphne, but I hated the ending of this book, which is why it is a 4 star. Those are the books that I read in March. I'm also about to finish The Great Gatsby. I am filming this video like 1 day before the end of March. I'm currently reading The Great Gatsby and I'm almost done with that, so I'm also going to go ahead and include that in here. I read The Great Gatsby by F. Scott Fitzgerald, but this book is a beautiful novel that really you don't need me to explain, honestly. Everyone knows The Great Gatsby, so I'm not going to get into that. I love The Great Gatsby. It's one of my all-time favorite classics that we read in school. It is one that I think about a lot, and I'm super excited to give you guys a little sneak peek. There is going to be a read and watch of The Great Gatsby coming out very soon, so keep your eyes peeled for that if you are a Great Gatsby lover like me. Now, let's get into the books that I want to read in April. I'm super excited about these. One of these books in particular has been on my TBR and like every single monthly TBR video for like a year now. I really want to just finally bite the bullet and just read it. I just need to read it. I haven't gotten to sit down with it, and it's kind of embarrassing that this is one of the only books that I've not read by this author, an author that I truly love and adore, and one that I very loudly all the time state that she's one of my favorite authors, yet I still have yet to read one of her more popular books, which is Beach Read by Emily Henry. I know, literally I know, don't smite me. Don't look at me like that either. I'm going to get to it, okay? I promise. I'm going to try to get to this month. This book follows Augustus Everett and January Andrews. They are both writers. Augustus is a literary fiction author and January is a romance author, and they're genuinely polar opposites, but they are living next to each other for the next 3 months in beach houses, and they are both dealing with writer's block, so they end up, yeah, that's what I think. So I'm pretty sure they end up swapping stories, and Augustus ends up writing January's story and January ends up writing Augustus's story. I'm not sure, but this has been on my TBR for way too long, and I'm so embarrassed that I keep saying I'm gonna read it and then I don't read it. So I'm actually going to get to it this month. Then the next book that I would like to read, and it's definitely gonna be like a palette cleanse for me because I have a lot of like similar books to read this month, and I want to give myself grace and give myself the ability to not feel too weighed down by the same genre. So I'm going to be reading, or hoping to read, Then She Was Gone by Lisa Jewell. This is a mystery. I'm pretty sure these are like mysteries. I've never read anything by Lisa Jewell. She is out of my comfort zone, so I felt like this was going to be a perfect palette cleanse for me, something that is out of my comfort zone, an author that I've never read before, and just an all-around fun time. This one says, Ellie Mack was the perfect daughter, and then she was gone. 10 years after Ellie's disappearance, her mother, Laurel Mack, is trying to put her life back together when she meets an unexpectedly charming man in a cafe. Before she knows it, she's meeting Floyd's daughters, and his youngest, Poppy, takes Laurel's breath away, because the eerily precocious Poppy is the spitting image of Ellie. And now the unanswered questions she's tried so hard to put to rest begin haunting Laurel anew. Where did Ellie go? Did she run away from home as the police have long suspected, or did something more sinister happen? A haunting page-turner of sheer perfection, Then She Was Gone is a gripping and emotionally resonant tale of one mother's quest to uncover the clues she failed to recognize and finally discover the truth of what happened to her daughter. I think this sounds so intriguing, so gripping, so exciting, so fun. I've not read anything like this because it is just a tad bit out of my comfort zone, so I would like to get to this one in the month of April. Then I want to read Normal People by Sally Rooney. My sister-in-law let me borrow this book so long ago, and she's travel nursing, so she doesn't really need it right now, but I feel so bad that I have yet to read this book, and she's probably not missing it, but I feel like she's missing it. I don't know. Hey, Em. Are you missing Normal People and Conversations with Strangers? Because I promise I'll get them to you. I'm going to read this one this month. I hope so. This one follows Connell and Marianne. They grow up in the same small town in the west of Ireland, but there's similarities end there. In school, Connell's popular and well-liked, and Marianne's a loner, but the two strike up a conversation and something changes, and basically this is a story about mutual fascination, friendship, and love. So I think this will just be a really cute story to read. It's also a decently short one, so also, sorry Emily, I promise I will get these two books back to you. I promise. Then the last book that I would like to read in the month of April is The White Octopus Hotel by Alexandra Bell. I just picked this one up at Books A Million like a month ago during their buy one get one sale. I love their BOGO sales. Anyway, this one is a fantasy. I love a fantasy. And it's really like the only fantasy I have on my TBR this month, so I think it's gonna be great. But this one says, London 2015. When reclusive art appraiser Eve Shaw shakes the hand of a silver-haired gentleman in her office, the warmth of his palm sends a spark through her. His name is Max Everly. Curiously, the same name as Eve's favorite composer, born 160 years prior. And she has the sudden feeling that she's held his hand before, but where and when? The White Octopus Hotel, 1935. In this Belle Epoque building high in the snowy mountains, Eve and a young Max wander in the winding halls lost in time. Each of them has been through the trenches, Eve through a family accident and Max on the battlefields of the Great War. But for an impossible moment, love and healing are just a room away, if only they have the courage to step through the door. I think this sounds so good and so fun. I love a time travel story. I don't really get to read many of them because they're not very common. I'm pretty sure the last time travel story I read was 11/22/63, which I'm pretty sure I read that 2 years ago. So that's just, it's been 2 years since I've read a time travel story. I love a time travel story. But those are all of the books that I read in March and all of the books that I hope to read in April. These are them. It's a pretty decent stack this go round. My stacks have been getting bigger and bigger now that the weather is getting nicer and nicer. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed this one. If you did, make sure you give it a thumbs up. Make sure you leave a comment downstairs. Make sure you subscribe. And I'll see you guys in the next one.